Okay, welcome to Tolmen Financial and another episode of the Millionaire in the Mirror. And today we have with us one of our employees and one of our team members at Tolmen Financial, Holly Novorowski. And she's our national marketing director. And she just graduated from Purdue in her with her marketing degree in May. And we brought her aboard, and she's actually leaving this week for her second tour down at the Walt Disney World for college students, and we're happy that we got her for the summer. And I think she's going to extend her time with us while she's down there and keep helping us. She's done a fantastic job. But we wanted to talk to her because she's now graduated college, and I want to find out, what did she know financially with her financial literacy, while she was going through high school, and then what did she get in college, and now with this brief stint through the summer, how is this going to help her down the road, whether she's with us still or she has another job where she's going to have to pick, how much do I put in my 401k and things like that. So with that, Holly, welcome, and you've done a fantastic job for us. So when you went through high school, uh, what kind of literacy or anything did they teach you that would help you throughout the rest of your life?
Well, thank you for that introduction. Honestly, when I came to you for the first time, I was very overwhelmed with everything that you were telling me. I was talking to my mom and I was like, this is a super great opportunity, but I don't really know what he's talking about. And I thought I was going to have to do a whole bunch of work beforehand to kind of understand, because you're throwing a lot of things that in college you really don't learn anything about that. They kind of want you to learn, your major and then just kind of go on. And I think that's kind of the point for like when you're going into fields. It's supposed to be confusing. Like everybody does the same thing. You don't really know what you're doing. So for me, like working with you this summer and just watching your videos, like I'll sit down and watch them when I have some free time and write stuff down. And I've learned so much just about the 401k over the summer that I feel a lot more confident about my decision making process because I didn't know much beforehand. So that's been really great.
Fantastic. And I feel like it's almost, in the video we just finished, it kind of told about, that the 401k really wasn't meant for the common worker. Everyone still basically had a pension, and it was really uh, it really started with the highly compensated and the big executives, and it was kind of a hands on. They were kind of in charge of it because they figured that those people that were highly compensated would already have a money manager, so they could help them, figure out their risk tolerance and all kinds of things like that. And as it progressed, and we've seen pensions get converted into 401ks over the years, and that process kind of started before you were even born. um, but now, and I think this is something else you may have learned, is that we're kind of on our own, and and here we are with this big decision to make, and you're getting ready to make that decision too soon. When you sit down in that HR office, and okay, here's your 401k, and go ahead and sign up. And and I think that's a daunting task, and you haven't done it yet, but I think you have a feeling for, okay, what's going to happen. And talk about the anxiety you may have been feeling before you kind of stepped into our team.
Well, exactly. That's kind of the perfect segue talking about how like it's not meant for all these people, but they push 401k on everybody. So now you're assuming that's what you're supposed to do, but it's not really made for you. And like anybody, everybody has to start somewhere. And we need to start earlier than we do. But for me, I didn't know anything beforehand. So if I were to go to another job and just have them ask me, hey, like, are we ready to start with the 401k? I'd just be like, yeah, I think that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I've heard that everybody else does. But that's why this is so important to watch your videos and to learn like there are other options. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to be moving your money somewhere else where it's not potentially 100% taxable because then what are you supposed to do? If something happens and you make a lot less money in the end than you thought you had, and then you're kind of screwed over. So it's been a really eye-opening for me, like seeing how easy it actually is. And I just hope that we can spread this information to more people and make it more common.
Right. And I think that's true, the complexity. And then when you have so many different variables, and I think that when it first came out, it was maybe more user friendly, or it really helped the employee. But I think now, and I feel like, especially since the pandemic, because almost every company, I think when they brought it out, they had some type of match, because they were already offering a pension that they were putting a big amount of money in, and then they transitioned and offered a match, and then they kind of went away from everything, so a lot of companies now are like, oh, we can't afford a match. And then they were taking care of the expense factor on the 401k, and now have kind of secretly pushed that to the employee. And I think, as a new hire coming into a business, I think you would blow them away if you said, okay, what's your expense factor on your 401k? How much are you going to charge my account over the years as I work for you? And then, what's your match? And if they're matching 6%, but they're taking 2.5 as a service fee, you're really only getting like a 3.5% match, or whatever. And that really pulls down, what your imbalance is going to be down the road. And I think you now are educated to be able to ask those questions. And I'd love to be a fly on the wall when if that happens, because I think you're going to have an HR person who really starts to stutter quite
Mhm.
badly, because they really don't know. And
Right.
that's the other problem, is that, while we can be out here educating, when you go into that HR office, do they really know, what they're doing to help you? And
Yeah,
I'm guessing no. So,
exactly.
but you now can be, because you're more versed, you can be your own advocate and know which direction you need to go. And I think, talk about also, um, that we use a lot of scientific principles and a lot of math, because we're not just thrown against the wall. And I think the biggest thing, when I show young people, is how much their account will compound. So talk about that and what you learned on that level.
Well, yeah. Thinking about like how you don't think something's going to happen to you until it does, and how I wouldn't think that I needed to worry about how much money was going into my account until I had a steady job. But really, you start somewhere, how fast that's going to compound in your account is insane. And the fact that people don't know about the life pension, like after hearing you talk about it, it just seems like a no-brainer. But I would have never known that that was even a thing just because of what everybody's talking about now and what you do and you're in the 401k. And yeah, that's the whole thing. Like if you just have all your money in your 401k, you don't know how much is going to be taken out of that account. But if you have your social security and you have money in a life pension that's not being taxed super highly, you have more income in different spots. It's also growing at the same time while your 401k is also growing. If you're taking money out of that 401k and it's being taxed and you're putting it somewhere else, you have a lot of options with that to grow while your 401k is also growing. So you're not losing from taking money out of that account in the long run versus trying to take it all out at once and then being stuck because you're taxed a bunch on that money. And
Right.
also thinking about like if something terrible does happen to you, and you don't have a spouse or something, but you have kids, and then they get screwed over on the amount of money that they get out of your account or have to take it out at a certain amount of time. Like, that's really scary to think about. It's something that you don't think will happen to you, but it could happen to anybody. So just being prepared and having a lot of other options is super huge.
Right. And I think we talked too about, if you're, for people that are joining us, our life pension has a life insurance benefit added to it. And, on a very small scale, it could be between 150, 200,000. So in heaven forbid, in like the second, third month or year, if something horrible would happen and you pass away, if you just had the 401k, the only thing your family's going to get back are those contributions that went in for that 2 months or 2 years. Whereas and those will also be taxable to the family. And then when you think about the life pension, and it could be 150, $200,000 tax free to the family, that's a big difference, and could really be monumental in helping that family get back on its feet. Um, yeah, I think that the different ways in which we, not all our eggs in one basket, but not just one cash flow or one, like we have tunnel vision and we can only do the 401k, and because there are other alternatives out there. So you also talked about, after you got started and started learning this stuff, that you were kind of talking to your mom about it, and talk about that conversation with your mom.
Yeah, when I first started working for you, I was like, this is really different than like, I didn't think that this was going to be at all what it was. And I'm really glad that it is because I've gotten the chance to learn so much and be able to share that with other people. And that's kind of the whole point is like, people don't know about this stuff. My mom didn't know about this stuff. She's told my grandma about it and told her that she should probably start looking into this. That's the whole thing. Like, you can start at any age, but the earlier you start, the better. And that's what I've kind of realized is like, how can I benefit myself later by starting now? And you can help any age group. These videos are super simple. You just sit down and watch a 10-minute video and you're way more educated than you were before. And that's what's been really nice for me because it seems really overwhelming when you get into it. And like, my mom never heard of the life pension because people don't talk about it until, you hear about it from somebody else, but you don't know about it beforehand. Nobody teaches it to you in school. They barely teach you about the 401k. So you're just kind of thrown into, that can be stressful just trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life and what you're going to do when you retire. And you don't want to think about it at first. And then it's too late. I mean, it's never too late, sure. But it's smart to start thinking about those things early. And I think a lot of people my age kind of push those things aside until it's, time
Yeah,
comes.
and I think that, with what our principles are and the culture we're trying to build, and the brand, that we're very fundamental, and we have a lot of structure, and we want to make sure we're on solid ground. It doesn't matter what year you get started or what age, the foundation is still strong, and we can build off of that. And yeah, sometimes it isn't a bad idea to take a little risk, but let's have that foundation built so that we can build on top of that. And that way, if we have a bad day family wise and something horrible happens, that we've taken care of that family, and can let them move on, along those lines. And yeah, and I think that's how this is going to have to work, is the financial literacy that we're pushing out there, kind of has to have its own roots, and spread out over, a lot of different people. And that way, and we're already seeing that as people, you know, figure out our name is out there, and that we're trying to help people just understand what's going on. And
Yeah.
it's just a great thing. So anyway, so with that, Holly, thank you so much for being a great team member. And we're not saying goodbye. We're just saying goodbye to you in this area as you head down to Florida. And we wish you all the luck. And we can still spread our love down there,
Right, exactly.
in the Disney complex or beyond. And we look forward to many more times we have with you, and safe travels, and um, make sure you check in with us, and we'll be happy to do things just like we have been, just at a distance.
Of
So
course. Yeah.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
Holly. Anything you want to say at the end here?
No, besides the fact that anybody can start now and it's super important. I think there was one more good point to mention is that with the 401k, you can't take your money out without it being super taxed until you're 59. So that's another reason, well, 59 and a half, but that's another really good reason why you should also put money in the life pension. So you have the opportunity to take money out when you need to without being super taxed. Because, you never know when things could happen. So it's always important to do that. You never know.
Exactly. And sometimes we have to play devil's advocate with our own lives, and know that and that's the other thing I see too in this day and age, is that people just don't have that cash on hand like they used to. I mean, I remember going out when I first started, 39 years ago, and we'd be in my dad was also in the business, but we'd be sitting at a kitchen table, and the man would go out and come back with a whole wad of money. I don't know where it was. I'm not gonna ask, but it was either buried in the backyard or down in the root cellar because it had that kind of musty smell. But you know what? They had it in their cookie jars. The women, you can go back and watch those old movies, and
Yeah.
they always could come up with that extra dollar because they had it
Good
socked
point.
away. And traditionally we've gotten away from that, and we've gone to credit cards, and a lot more people are tapping into their 401k early, which
Yeah.
you're, you're right. Before 59 and a half, if you get in there, they're going to charge you a 10% penalty, and then they're going to add that to your taxable income. So that's not where you should be taking the money. And if we can help people get those savings accounts established, and learn how to save, and if they would just keep watching The Millionaire in the Mirror, we'll get them there. But
Yeah.
it's not a day, even though you've learned a lot through the 3 months that you've been here, it's an ongoing process. And, I hope that you keep spreading the word, and you keep watching too, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a lifetime of education. And like
Yeah.
you said, watching a short video just to stay on top of things, I don't think it's too much to ask when you're looking at making sure your life and your family's financial future is on the right path. So
Oh, yeah. It significantly reduced my stress levels about the whole situation for sure. And
good.
I think that was a great point that people now we're really not saving money. I mean, even I'm bad at it. I'm working at it, but
Right.
you think you put it one place and then you don't have to worry about it, but then you don't have any money on hand if you really need it. So that's a really good point.
All right. With that, we'll say goodbye. Thanks, Holly. And like I said, safe travels, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much.
All right.